Welcome to episode 8 of Two Idiots Reading Comics. This week we're reading Manifest Destiny. Make sure to follow our Instagram and Twitter. That's where we'll be doing all our announcements on there. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. Give us a 5-star rating if you would. That helps out a lot. Get us up the charts and stuff like that. Unsubscribe, resubscribe. It's a whole algorithm on Apple. Be sure to follow on YouTube. Go ahead and subscribe. Click the notification bell, whatever people are asking for. I'm not 100% in depth on it, but it supposedly helps. But thanks for continuing to listen, continuing to watch. We want to make this big, so. But we'll get to the episode now. All right. And welcome into episode 8.
Eight, man.
Now, when we were looking at this, I was like, how to start a YouTube channel, how to start a podcast, and all that. They said the average episodes of a podcast, because so many people start it and don't realize how hard it is and stuff like that, the average episode they make it to is 7.
7.
We're beating the statistics.
Hey, that's how I got through college. Was just barely beating the statistics.
This dude didn't know he was going to graduate until 2 days before we walked.
Hey, I got that shit done.
And I didn't know I was going to
I was
graduate
about to
until
say
a week before we
you
walked.
weren't much better. Don't be bragging too hard.
But yeah, today we are reading Manifest Destiny Volume 1. This is a self-owned, published by Image Comics. The writer is... Now, when I first read this,
Yeah,
I thought this guy was
man.
writing under a different name. Chris Dingus. That's gonna be a tough name to grow up with. Pencil and ink, Matthew Roberts. Now, have you ever seen Matthew with 2 T's? Is that like a
That's
normal
how my
thing?
cousin. That's how my cousin does.
I didn't know that was a normal thing.
Because he takes his name out and he does Matt with 2 T's, M-A-T-T.
Cool.
Yeah.
Then color is Owen Genie,
Gieni.
Gieni. And then the editor was Sean
Makowicz.
Mackiewicz, Mackiewiczz. We'll go with that. But yeah.
Oh, and the letter was Pat Brosio. Brosio.
Did I miss the letter?
Yeah, you missed the letterer, man.
Dude, it was... I got here last night and hadn't read it yet, so I kind of... Davis's wife had us watching John Tucker Must Die, and for some reason Davis had never seen it. And so we actually didn't start reading it until like 9 o'clock last night. But yeah, so I was tired when I had to do all that. But what'd you think?
I was really good.
Because I had told you about this for a long time.
years ago when
and
we
this
were
is
in
the
college,
first time you finally just got to
Yeah.
read it.
Very different.
Non-superhero.
Yeah, very non-superhero. Kind of what we
Mhm.
kind of want to
Kind of
get
what I'm...
to at this week.
Yeah, I'm enjoying a lot of non-superhero stuff right now.
Oh, and something else. If you've noticed at this point, we're gonna have each month we have a theme going. Not
Or
a theme, but
not a theme,
an
but
order.
We have an obvious rotation of what we do.
Marvel, DC. Right now it's Vader that we're running current,
Mhm.
and then the next we're gonna that third one is gonna be a continuous story.
Yeah, is usually Marvel DC the first 2 weeks of
Yeah.
the month. Third week or third Tuesday of the month is a story that we're reading multiple
Yeah.
of to get
And
like a
then,
whole story. And then
Fourth Tuesday is going to be an indie comic.
Indie comic.
Very not
Valiant.
Valiant.
We have some. We know Vertigo is technically DC now. It's called Black Label,
Yeah.
but they've got some non-superhero stuff that we'll throw in there. I want to say at this point we will have announced what we're reading for next month.
Yes, we should be.
I can't remember. I want to say it was 100 Bullets, which was Vertigo.
yes. 100 Bullets is next.
Hold on, I can double check that. I brought it in here and
Okay.
completely forgot to grab it. No. Nope. Shoot, we were. First off, next month is 5.
Yeah, 5 Tuesdays.
We have
in
5
August.
Tuesdays. So, first off, we should have announced this on Instagram and Twitter
Yeah.
already. Go follow us at 2IdiotsRC. For September, it'll be Spider-Man: The Kraven's Last Hunt. The best thing I would suggest for that is because it kind of the story goes through multiple series. If you get the Marvel app, I don't know if y'all have stuff to read electronically. But you get the Marvel app, go to Story Arcs, type in Kraven's Last Hunt, and it has like a collected
Yeah.
version. That's what we're gonna be doing. But yeah. Then we have the crossover between Batman and Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun.
And of course, Vader Volume 3.
Yep.
And then for the, independent slash
Yeah.
non-superhero, we're going to be reading Fables Volume 1.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Forgot we talked about that one.
Yeah. Fables. That kind of got spun off into a Telltale video game, and then, but it's like a prequel to this.
Okay.
And then I want to say there either is about to be a TV show, or there was a TV show. It's kind of Once Upon a Time-ish. It's kind of like a twist on like famous fairy tales that are in like the public domain, like no one owns the rights to them. And then for the 5th Tuesday, that should be the week as of recording this right now. That should be the week Wonder Woman is coming out.
Yep.
We still have to pick which Wonder Woman story we're going to be
we still
reading.
gotta pick that. If you
but
have any suggestions, send it to us.
We'll already
Oh yeah, that's
announced
right.
it
Never
by
mind.
that time.
We'll already know by then.
Yeah. But yeah, so you'll go look on Twitter or Instagram. We'll list which specific one it is for that. But yeah, man, that's what we're going to be reading for the month of September.
Cool.
I don't know
I
how
know
we
we just
got
went
on
off
that
on
subject.
a complete
Yeah.
tangent, but
Oh, we were talking about how
our order's going.
and
so.
because we're doing some non-superhero stuff.
Yeah.
But honestly, we realized that most people who do read comics mostly read Marvel and DC.
Yeah.
And so we kind of keep that order just because right now I'm into mostly indie and non-superhero stuff. And if we didn't have that order, that would probably be 75% of what we
that's
read.
all we would do. And
But,
no one would have a clue what the frick we were reading.
Yeah, except for like the diehard
Yeah.
deep cuts. But yeah, let's get into it.
So-
this was your first time reading it. What did you think?
It's very interesting. Like we said, you told me about it years ago when we were
Mhm.
in college, and I finally got around to reading it. It starts off like a history, not a history book, but just kind of what you imagine Lewis and Clark doing. They're
Mhm.
on a boat and
Settling the West.
sailing towards the west, or settling the west, and
Yeah.
they're on a boat riding,
Mhm.
going west. And Clark, Lewis sees a bird flying over and wants to identify it. So Clark just shoots the damn thing.
Yeah.
That's what got me. It was like, in your head, most comics you think of as like,
They've obviously worked together in the past, but Lewis is obviously like the researcher type.
yeah.
And then Clark is the like no nonsense like military guy.
Yeah. In the past, you kind of, or in most comics, to me, you kind of see, again, like the crossing the line thing. This isn't crossing the line, but
Mhm.
just the outright, oh, I want to study that. All right, and just shoots it.
Yeah.
Not, all right, let's watch it land. We'll go watch it,
Mhm.
or like what you would think of as like National Geographic now. Of
Yeah.
we're gonna sit there and we're gonna watch. It is.
Like-
I need that specimen,
Yeah.
and we're going to get it.
Mhm.
And I was kind of cool about. Very different.
Yeah.
Then they start talking about their crew,
Yeah.
and
It's
go
kind of
into-
a mixed match of volunteer army
Yep.
people and then
crooks.
some
Uh,
like people who were promised pardons and stuff like
Yeah.
that were in jail. And they talk about it a little bit. Jensen, who is like the short, he was in the stockades for something. I don't know
I
if it
don't
told us
remember what
what,
it was.
but he said he's like, I hear people talk, and then I know the people I talk to. It's kind of strange that everybody on this boat doesn't have a family to go back to.
And he kind of explains that. He goes through kind of a few of the guys of this guy's mom killed herself.
Yeah.
This guy's dad died from a disease.
Yeah.
This one
This guy's
killed
wife,
his family,
yeah.
or
This guy's
Yeah.
wife died of consumption,
and
stuff like
it
that.
just it's kind of sitting there going, okay, and then you
very Suicide Squad esque.
yeah, and then you sit there and going, so what are they really out to do?
And that's what this whole series is kind of narrated by Lewis writing in his journal, and he said, "I'm beginning to question the president's mental state because he sent us out here, and he told us there were going to be monsters." And
And
which
that's
was
right after they shot the bird, and it just looks like a crane or a
Yeah.
stork. It looks like a very common bird.
And then Lewis is like, we haven't found anything abnormal yet, which they very quickly
like next page or two.
yeah. So the president has sent them out to settle the West, but have told them that the French have told, because it's the Louisiana Purchase, the French have told them there's riddled with monsters.
And it took me a minute to realize like who told them that was out there, and then a clicked of, oh yeah, that was owned by.
Which is probably why they got all that land so cheap.
Oh
back in the day.
Yeah, that'd make that's a nice play on
Yeah.
how they got it so cheap.
But he's talking about how like all the men were getting so antsy they haven't seen anything. They're wondering why they are so like heavily armed and stuff
Yep.
like that. Which later in the issue or like later in the volume they have to go get the fire or whatever.
Yeah,
like the
the
thing.
fire. And,
But then that one guy looks in a crate and he's like, "Why
it's-
there's a bunch of wooden stakes?
wooden stakes. Nice nod to.
Yeah, vampires and stuff like
vampires.
that."
I'm getting a call from my boss right now, so
all right, we're gonna take a time out.
Take a time out.
And we're back.
Yeah.
I just realized we rambled a lot that they didn't see before. So I don't know where we're supposed to be at. Because I didn't mark what time it was at before we started recording. So this is either going to be a really long episode or a really short episode.
Oh, depending on how you can get everything in and out.
Yeah. Or no, just depending on... Because I don't know. It says at 16 minutes, but we are definitely not that deep in. So we're going to have to... we're just going to
We'll
say
figure
everything
it
we
out.
got to say about it, and then whatever it ends up being is what
Yeah.
it's going to end up being. So
But yeah, so going back to where we left off, they're under the boat, and the reason they're looking for the fire is that these people are being infected by this plant.
that's jumping ahead, but
Oh well, yeah.
unless they roll up on this arc like you see in St.
Yeah.
Louis and stuff like that. Arch, yeah.
Is it
yeah.
an arch? Yeah, St.
It's
Louis
Arch.
Yeah.
Arch, my bad. And that's kind of a theme through this whole series is every time they roll up on an arch, some fucked up shit happens.
Oh, so there's multiples.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
And they're all made of like different stuff that has to do with
Really?
what they have to fight and stuff like that.
Oh, that's gonna
Uh,
be cool. I thought this was like kind of how St. Louis claims theirs is. It's
Yeah.
like the gateway to the West.
Yeah.
That's what I thought this was gonna be. Is like
Mm-hmm.
they crossed that and they were going, and that's just once they cross that, now the rest of their journey is gonna be fucked up.
Yeah.
Not that there's multiples.
Oh no, there's multiple,
Oh
and
shit!
I think they eventually start like destroying them, but
That seems about right.
which would explain why there's only one still in St. Louis. But,
The
but,
one that the first one that they did not destroy.
yeah, but yeah, so they roll up on that, and they're kind of like, all right, we need to get out and just document this because that's kind of like this big thing. Like no Native Americans
Yeah.
could have built this. And, something's going on. And while they are studying it, Jensen and another one of the criminals
Yeah.
they were talking to, they were talking about deserting. Because, like you said, Jensen was pointing out the facts of none of these people have families.
Yeah. Like,
Why
this
are we
is-
being? These aren't adding up
yeah,
right.
like both of them, like he kind of figures out that like this isn't just us going out west to find
We're all
Indians or
expendable.
what's out here.
Yeah.
Like this is
Something's going on.
Yeah.
And just as one of the military guys walks up and says, probably shouldn't be talking about desertion or whatever. Captain Clark wouldn't like that. What they call a minotaur, it's closer to a centaur. It's
it's
bottom half of a
horse.
slash
Well, with
buffalo.
four hoof.
Yeah, four hoofed legs, gigantic. Human
torso
torso,
of a human.
but then a head of a buffalo.
Yeah.
And they call it a minotaur. Turns
centaur.
into minotaur.
Minotaur.
And it turns into like this joke that runs all the way through. Is like minotaurs.
Like everybody just looks at him like
Minotaur's a human with a buffalo head. But and that just kind of runs out, trucks the guy.
The enlisted service
that was talking about. Y'all shouldn't be talking about desertion. Jensen takes that advantage. Is like, you're not telling Clark anything. Snaps his neck
because at this point Clark has already whipped 2 people,
and one of them was Jensen.
One of them was Jensen for stealing
rum.
Yeah. So like when Clark just shot the bird, like Clark is the fist.
Yeah, no nonsense.
He keeps the men in line.
Military man.
Yeah. So.
But yeah, so they somehow, they have guns, so they
Yeah.
killed it relatively easy because it was just one on its own.
Yeah.
They get it back on the ship. Lewis starts to dissect it. Scalpel isn't working, so he's having to use like a skinning knife.
A skinning knife to get through the hide and through the torso, the human part.
And gets a tooth out and discovers this is a baby.
Yeah.
Standing at 8 feet tall.
And over 700 pounds. And they're like, oh God, what is a real one?
Yeah.
Or what is a full grown gonna be?
So the whole point of like this first leg was them getting to the settlement called La Carta.
And it's the last, the way I understood it was the last settlement before they went west. Last civilized.
It was the farthest western settlement that had been set up so far. So then they leave that area and they go to where they're supposed to meet La Carta, and they're walking along the path. They had that weird part where we now know is
well, they were on the boat still.
Yeah, and they see this cute lady.
Yeah, and she just
jumps off a cliff.
She just
but
dives
she had
off the cliff.
what we now know is that plant disease or whatever. But she had the green eyes.
Yeah.
And
so that was got me. So when they got to where her body landed and the moss was in the shape of a human, that was her.
Yeah.
But she wasn't moving, or she didn't move. So
no, I'm guessing,
was she not far along, or was it just that's what they want? They didn't want them to know.
I'm guessing she still had some type of conscience, but she knew what was coming because she had seen what happened to the rest of the townspeople.
Yeah.
And so she committed suicide.
And just maybe it didn't quite
killed her because she was the host.
All right.
And then the plan just kind of was like, all right.
Because later on we see them like peeling themselves off of limbs and they're humans walking. I was like, holy fuck.
Like plant zombies, basically.
Yeah, plant zombies.
But she hadn't, I'm guessing because she hadn't she was starting to turn green, but she wasn't all the way there yet.
Yeah, her eyes had just
And she was like, I know where this goes. I'm just going to end it here.
Okay, all right.
But as they're walking to La Carta and then they find where that lady's body was laying, a whole pack of what they call minotaurs.
Because they made the comment very quick of there's probably its parents looking for it.
Yeah.
And
they came chasing after them. And most of them, or a few of them, got away. But they show that one clip of that one dude trying, and there's like 5 of them behind him.
Yeah, just snatches him up, and then like the next scene is they have the text of his bones crunching and snapping, and later on they talk about how they could smell him being cooked.
And then they show a clip of like they're all sitting around a fire, and one of them's holding up his pants like, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
But then they make it into, like I said, the survivors make it into the settlement, and then they're like, there's no one here.
Yeah. And it's just about to be dark.
Yeah.
It's real close to dark, so they can't quite see. The pages are a little dark.
And they're way more concerned about what's outside the fence than what's in.
Because it almost seems like for a good, what seemed to be in the issue, the way they kind of described it, was a good maybe hour before they realized, oh, there's nobody here. We need to go look.
Yeah, and so Lewis and two others go look, and Lewis catches someone in the window of like what looked like a church.
Yeah.
And so, and it's a small detail, you don't notice it, but to get in, they're pulling off boards that were like nailed to the door.
Yeah.
Where they had trapped them in there. And
I'm sorry, but my first thought of if there's boards on the outside, I'm not going in.
Yeah.
Like that means somebody.
That's because we've watched The Walking Dead.
Oh yeah, we watched The Walking Dead. Somebody has kept something on the inside.
Yeah.
That's not inside trying to stay out or out, but.
And but they go right on in there because they got to see who's in there, and they say hello, and then of course, Plant Zombie guy turns around. And he's full zombie at that point. Well, he's not even completing sentences.
At first, the way I thought they were going to be, when they first looked at him, and the way they talked and they kind of responded, I thought they were going to be changed but still human.
Yeah.
And then it just shit hits the fan. They start chasing them and runs them outside.
And you find out later that like you can't touch them at all. And one dude pukes on like one of the military guys, and he gets infected. But they shoot him, they stab him, nothing's slowing them down until they figure out even if you just set one on fire, they all feel it.
It hurts all, yeah.
But then the survivors that were in the settlement that survived the plant thing that weren't part of Lewis and Clark's party, they come out and they're like as close to a hazmat suit as you can get back then.
Yeah, like fully
and they're
masked.
like, do not let anything touch you, burn everything, even the blood on the ground.
Yeah.
And that guy's got to be quarantined right now.
She was wanting to kill him right then and there. But
probably should have.
Yeah, but like Clark said, he's like, you are not a part of this. This is my decision, yada yada. And so that guy runs off.
Yeah.
And they catch him.
Yeah.
And Clark starts whipping him. Yeah. And then his flesh starts peeling.
Well, that's after they do eventually just quarantine him.
Yeah, right,
and
right.
Then,
he's quarantined.
They're talking to, her name is Magdalene Bonaparte, I think.
Yeah.
She turns out to be an important, or like a main character going forward. But she's like, yo, y'all need to kill that dude, and then we need to get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, there's a bunch of fucking Minotaurs out there.
Now, did they know about the people that were in the fort? Did they know that there was the Minotaurs out there?
I don't think they came across one because they were close to the arch. They had to go a little bit further to get to Lacarta.
That's true.
And I'm guessing the Minotaurs just followed them
from killing their son.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess they just hadn't encountered them. But then Magdalene goes about the whole story about how a tracker brought the disease in and kind of infected everybody, and we didn't figure it out fast enough. And then that's when Lewis, you first hear Lewis and Clark, well, we actually can't leave right now.
Yeah.
We're waiting on somebody.
Yeah.
And we're waiting for this Indian girl that we're supposed to meet here.
Yep.
It's literally the reason for the whole mission.
Right.
Is what they say. And so they kind of just go back and forth, and then they get to the point where they're like, all right, we can't wait anymore.
Yeah, we got to go. We got to get back to the boat.
And the issue, they're like, all right, well, they develop a plan, and then you have their text of them talking, but then you see a page of Sacagawea as the Indian girl they were waiting for.
Yeah.
And she killed like all the Minotaurs.
And she comes out of the trees with like this cape, like a lot like Batman, but with spiders. It's
not like
really cool. She's just like full spread eagle with a spear coming down on. I think
it's like a jacket and but they made it look like it was a cape,
and
it was a really cool panel.
That was real nice.
Yeah, and whoever did that was cool.
Fucking single-handedly kills them all.
Yeah, she's a fierce person.
And
going forward,
And
Um.
then like all dudes, the guy she was with took credit for it all.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I couldn't tell if that was
Well,
him being an asshole or
just
kind of like
this is what happened. Now, granted, he did not say he did it. He just said
yeah.
this happened, and
They just automatically assumed it was him
that is true. Yeah.
because it's in the 1800s.
This is
They keep-
1804.
They keep calling. There's one black guy in the party. Kind of seems to be a
He-
servant slash slave to Clark.
I mean, it is 1804. And
Yeah. Obviously, that's
Hey.
wrong nowadays, but set
It is.
in that time.
It is 1804, and
As far as I can remember, they don't say the N word, but they do call him boy, which is
pretty close to it
yeah, it's
for
kind
that
of
time.
makes me cringe when people do
Yeah.
it. But then they also treat women with not a whole lot of respect.
Oh yeah,
also.
I mean the woman, what's her name? Not Sacagawea, but the other one,
Magdalene.
Magdalene. I mean, she's trying to give advice, and both Clark and Lewis are like, "Shut
Which
up!
kind of yeah,
Like you have no say here. Well, all we needed you for was the topography
yeah,
and what everything looked like."
But yeah, so they devise a plan. They kind of say fuck it for Sacagawea.
Yeah.
They devise a plan, and they were all shitty.
Oh yeah.
They end up going with was gonna be 5, but they had more volunteers than they needed. Decoy team to lure them away, and everybody else just runs for the boat.
Yeah, because
And hopefully the decoy team beats the Minotaurs back to the boat. But when they open the gate, Sacagawea is on a horse with the buffalo head mounted on it.
multiples.
Yeah, and
Multiples.
a man leading the horse into the settlement. That's when we get introduced to them. And everybody's just kind of standing around like, why are they so important? And you find out Sacagawea is pregnant.
Or
But
claims to be pregnant.
she said not very
Yeah,
long
not very
yet.
far along.
But you find out because Lewis and Clark pull the guy aside and said, we had a deal. We had the money
Yeah.
upon delivery of the pregnant girl. And they're like,
No, it was
no, it's half.
and then half when the baby was born.
Yeah. And then you kind of get a quick panel of Magdalene's like inside the house with the window open.
Yeah, and
Hearing the conversation. So she knows something's up.
Yeah,
And that's kind of like a big storyline going forward through the other volumes. But so they took care of the buffalo problem. Then is when you find
Yep.
out
that
that one dude was like, I gotta go pee, the guy who got vomited on. And really, he was trying to escape,
Yeah.
but the guy was like, I can't leave you alone, captain's orders.
So instead, he gets bayoneted in the leg and then pistol whipped with the butt of the rifle to his face.
Yeah.
That just
and
that
then he
hurts.
only makes it like 20 feet into the woods.
Yeah,
And the sickness gets to him, he passes out. And that's when they're talking about
Yeah.
he was getting whipped.
and his flesh just starts peeling apart.
And it's all the green, just like
Yeah.
Magdalene said.
Yeah,
And so they end up,
Clark gets his sample.
yeah.
No, Lewis gets his sample, and you
Cut a
talking about
finger
somebody
off.
that's making sure he gets his shit right,
Hmm.
or make sure he gets
All
his
the information he
specimen.
needs. Yeah.
He is shit. It's like the flower that they took off of the
Mhm.
arch.
It was in
Looked
shape
like
of a skull.
looked like a skull. That was
Yeah.
cool. I would like to have one of those.
Sounds like a bad omen to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was kind of like the end of it or not the end of it, but like they got him under control and then they eventually had to end up lighting him on fire.
Yeah.
It's the only way to kill him. And they're like, all right, cool. We can all just go to the boat now. Everything's good. And Lewis and Clark were like, actually, we have to go back.
Yeah.
Our orders clearly state that if we come upon resistance, we have to eliminate it.
And that was something that got me was like, they're not just a research team.
No.
They are there.
They
to
are clearing
clear
the path.
West. Yeah,
Ridding of all this stuff so that
for westward
America
expansion.
can go.
Go
It
west.
was literally
yeah.
called Manifest Destiny.
Yeah, and it was
where-
like shit.
Americans thought it was their right by God to that land.
Yeah,
As weird as that is, but
yeah. But it just kind of shows how the mentality back then, and it's
Yeah.
kind of led to issues today that
America
we're not trying to
is
get into, but
problematic at
Yeah.
best.
that they claim it, they want it, they'll go get it, and
Yeah.
they'll do whatever they have to go get it. And
Yeah, but then they go grab all this jars of stuff like we were talking about earlier. Greek fire.
That
As soon
shit.
as it's exposed to oxygen, a fire just lights up, and so they go back into the forest. They're like, we see anything like that, we gotta
Yeah. Try to find the roots or the
Yeah.
heart, the main limb
and
of
then
it.
they start finding all these animals that have been
Animals, man,
infected.
that's what
The
fucked
bear
me
was
up.
freaky.
Mm.
Granted, it wasn't like completely turned. It still had its brown fur.
Yeah, that's
but-
what got me was this disease wasn't just for
That
humans.
panel where it's a smaller one. They walk up and it's like, oh, it's a deer.
Yeah,
and then
it
that
just-
big one, it turns its head and it's all
Ugh.
zombified and stuff
like
like
missing
that.
half the side of its face, and
Mhm.
oh man, that shit was.
But eventually, Lewis and Clark were the ones that got to the bear. They set it on fire. They followed it to make sure it died. They eventually get swallowed up by the mother plant, I think
It
is what it
looked
is.
like a big ass damn Venus flytrap
Yeah,
rose thing that just
And I think that's what was controlling everything.
Yeah.
And they get into it a little bit, but like the plant's talking to everything that's infected to it.
Mhm.
But it catches them by surprise, swallows them,
Yep,
and when you're inside,
puts them to sleep.
puts them to sleep, and you're dreaming.
Now,
And then Lewis started dreaming of an orgy.
Jesus was a
Clark started dreaming of having to fight against
a
Native
massacre.
Americans.
And
yeah.
there was a scene earlier, very quick, like
Yeah.
one panel of. Oh, it was when the girl
They were talking
dove
about-
off.
yeah.
He said, Clark said that she didn't make a sound. He
Yeah.
said, "I know humans scream when they fall if they mean to or not."
And they talk
because
about where
they
they had
a
to walk
village
Native
of
Americans
Indian-
off a cliff.
walked them off a cliff. He said it
Mhm.
doesn't matter if they did it themselves; they screamed going down.
Yeah.
And he sees this. I
Mhm.
guess he's reliving that, and it's just
And they're
mm,
it's got like him stabbing them all, but then like you go to the next page, and now they're starting to fight him.
and it's like a demon. Like his face,
Yeah.
like his teeth turn to fangs, and his
Yeah.
eyes turn red. Shit get
Uh-huh.
like, and you've got Lewis over here having a freaking orgy
yeah.
in his dream, and Clark's having
Like a
literal
nightmare.
fucking nightmare, like the worst
And
nightmare.
it does
possible.
that while you're asleep, and then I don't know if it shows it or if I just assumed it's about to digest you.
Yeah, that's what she
Yeah.
says, or the creature says, is like,
Yeah.
I am sucking your life,
Yeah,
and you'll never feel it. It'll
Mhm.
it'll happen.
yeah. But then Sacagawea swoops in,
Woo.
kills the plant, pulls
And-
him out.
I would have liked showed that a little bit more. Like they just shows her
Yeah.
slicing like some limbs on the side or some
Uh-huh.
vines on the side,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden a big gash in the side,
Mm.
and the next thing you know they're out in the open.
Yeah.
There's just this hole in the side of the plant, and it's
Yeah.
like, so this thing can control everything.
What it's
Con-
infected.
What it's infected.
Which half of it's been burned by now.
That has
so.
to be burned, and Sacagawea has killed it by just slicing it open.
Yeah.
I was like,
I think they set it on fire.
I'm sure
just
they
to-
do,
yeah.
but I don't know. It just seemed like
Yeah, yeah. There's
it was a
that's
very like one page. And
my one
they were
critique
out.
was there's a lot of talking, which you got to set up the world.
Yeah, I mean this is
Um,
brand new. This is
But there's a lot of talking in this one.
Yeah.
With like it's kind of referred it to like the mid seasons of The Walking Dead, where there's about 2 episodes worth of talking and
and then
plot development, and then boom, a zombie
Yeah.
attack and stuff like that, and you do it over again and over
Right.
again. But
it is a lot of dialogue, but
yeah, but I mean it's good.
it's really cool. And again, like we talk about, we like to read these Elseworld stories, like
Or like
like
non-superhero stuff
well,
like
not
that.
just non-superhero, but like
Al-
alternate versions
alternative
of history.
history. Yeah.
The idea of this is what we all know the story of Lewis and Clark and what they did, and then somebody this writer Chris Dingus, he created this idea of, hey, Lewis and Clark did this,
Mm.
but here they did this in secret.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
um,
It's the history we weren't told.
yeah, because even in the beginning there was a comment that Clark asked Lewis which book is he writing it in. And he said
congressional one.
Yeah,
or
he said
the-
the congressional and then
the
my
presidential
personal,
one.
yeah, or something. And thought that was pretty cool
Yeah,
about
yeah.
how he's keeping a legit and then
Mm.
keeping or a hidden one.
Yeah,
And that's cool.
yeah. But yeah, so they get through all that and they get back on the boat to keep going west now
Yeah,
that they've
and
got Sacagawea.
that's it. And now,
Yeah.
something I was going to ask. Since you have read them, we don't want to get too
Mhm.
far ahead. Do they explain why she won't get on the boat?
Mm, they might. I know at some point they kind of make her against her will because she's so far along. Um, I think that's just
Just personal?
Native American. Not to mention just the few moments she was amongst everybody. Everybody else, was looking at her like, that's the only girl I've seen in a while.
we want some of that. And
Or-
it got a little creepy there. For a
Or
second.
just, I would
very rapey.
better
vibes.
get comfortable with that.
Damn. I'm sure because
Yeah.
she's the only female, or there's three
There's-
females
yeah,
now.
but that and then just she can't keep up. She's a girl, and
Yeah.
so stuff like that.
Because while they're burning everything, Clark's like, I don't want her to.
We have to keep her safe.
Yeah, we have to keep her
She
safe.
is the
like,
mission,
Yeah.
is what they said.
Also got a weird, like not a
Mhm.
weird, but like a Clark has a feelings for her vibe. I don't know if it's just something I just read too much into or what, but I just kind of seem to have that.
I don't think so. There does seem to be a romance, but not with those two
Okay, all
going
right.
forward.
Alright.
But yeah, it just kind of volume 1 gives you a shit's fucked up. We're setting up
Yeah.
the world,
Yeah, I mean,
but then blank slate going forward to volume 2
Cool.
and all the other ones.
it's really cool. And again, if y'all want us to continue
Mm-hmm.
with Manifest Destiny or any of them that we're just doing one volume of, let us know,
Yeah.
and we'll work it. It may be what we do next time for
Yeah.
our independent at the end of the
Mhm.
month.
Yeah.
So, So let us know.
Now we're planned out all the way until like January,
January.
but things can change.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. So next week,
Next week is
Spider-Man,
Spider-Man,
Craven the Last
Craven,
Hunt, or Craven's Last Hunt,
And, like we
that's
said
like
before,
a story arc I've been wanting to read for so
yeah,
long.
I've always heard about it, and then when we finally looked,
I know a
up,
lot of people are just begging for that to become one of the Spider-Man movies, but
they toyed with it a lot with the. You remember Disney XD?
yeah.
They toyed with Craven a lot
Now the thing
in the cartoon.
where I saw it was the '90s Spider-Man
Yep.
cartoon show.
Yeah,
That used to be on what used to be like ABC Family. I think it's called Freeform now.
yes, yeah.
But that was on there all the time in the mornings. And I'd rerun that during the summer.
But again, Craven, what we're reading is a collection of issues.
mhm.
It's not like 4, 5,
Yeah.
6, 7, 8. This is like 1 from this year, 4 from this year.
The way we are doing it is I'm going into the Marvel Comics app. I'm going to the story arcs, searching Craven's Last Hunt.
Yeah.
And I think it's like 6 issues. And we're actually getting a low battery thing, so we probably need to end it pretty soon.
Shit,
Yeah.
that's the first time.
Yeah. But yeah, so we'll see y'all next week.
All right, guys.
Bye.
Bye.